But first, the Cooperative Institute for Research of the Atmosphere, or CIRA, sharing this satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Andrea. It was the first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season and became a post-tropical cyclone yesterday evening. The next name on the list, Wes, is Barry.
When you look at the tropical system from that view, you say, well, that's quite the system. You know, it's just way out there in the ocean. You look at the broad picture, it doesn't look like a lot to it, but when you actually zoom in, we have that incredible view from space with that enhanced satellite imagery.
Yeah, we really have some great tools at our disposal, but it's always good to see it just behaving itself out in the middle of nowhere.
That's right, that's right. Yeah, stay out there. Listen, there have been some intense storms down along the coast. I'll show you some of those radar images coming up, but right now, the big story, the heat. We're going to be talking about another First Alert weather day tomorrow. Let's go right to it here. And first off, a way to beat the heat, head out to the creek, right? Brandon Lastille over in Coldwater shared this. It looked like quite a few folks out there. Of course, with a name like Coldwater Creek, you know that water is going to be chilly and a good place to cool off in this summer heat. But right now, it is 91 degrees in the Birmingham area. Now, this view is looking back to the south. This is Red Mountain Expressway from Crane Works there, the junction there at 2059. But further to the south, I am seeing a little pop-up storm over the Birmingham area, and I want to show you that here coming up. Right now we have triple-digit feels-like temperatures in a lot of areas. Coleman, 104 is a current heat index. It is still dangerously hot, and eventually what's going to happen is this heat dome or a heat wave that we've been telling you about, the upper level ridge, it's going to break down, and there's a lot of instability out there, thermal instability. So once those storms start happening, sometimes they can just really kind of take off, and we see development all across the state, but we're still in this sort of backwards flow with storms moving east to west around the base of that ridge. So I'm really watching. It's kind of interesting here. We're keeping a close eye on what's happening back across Georgia, because a lot of those storms could work into the eastern part of the state this evening. But right now, the rain coverage so far, it's been very, very isolated. But even yesterday, you know, we had some models that suggested we could see some pop-ups around Birmingham, and here we go. This is one little cell that's jumped up around the Vestavia Hills area around Shades Mountain. It looks like it's moving over Alford Avenue, Lakeshore Parkway, and it's tracking to the south and west direction. So this will move back in towards Bluff Park, Hoover, Shannon, Ross Bridge areas. So first alert, there's the Hoover Met. You can see a little pop-up. There's one lightning strike with this, but just stay alert for cloud to ground lightning. I know we have a concert tonight at the Coca-Cola Amphitheater. We got to watch out for this lightning and these pop-up storms. But a small cell over towards Crystal Springs, further east, this is over in the Ohatchee area, over in the parts of Calhoun County. We've been tracking some of those pop-ups. But the big story here, of course, the hot weather at the moment, but we're going to gradually see these storms increase. And actually, the model data yesterday was showing our greatest chance would happen tonight. And that's what I'm still thinking is this evening, late tonight and to tomorrow morning even. There could be a couple of storms. Some of those could be severe. But if the ridge holds and these storms kind of hold out a bit longer, if that happens, there's easily a chance we could see more temperatures like this tomorrow. So that's why we have carried over that first alert weather day, and also that's why the Weather Service, they have extended that heat advisory into tomorrow. So just plan for one more day here at least where we're going to have temperatures like this. But listen, it's going to be hot for the end of the week this weekend. Highs around 90, but that's closer to where we should be for this time of the year. But scan the code that I'm about to show you right here on your screen. Just point the camera on your mobile device at that code and a link will pop up. That'll take you right to the download option for our First Alert weather app. It is free, and the big thing, you receive lightning and precipitation alerts, even severe thunderstorm alerts on your mobile device wherever you are. Stay weather alert with the WBRC weather app. You're going to need that over the next several days with those higher rain chances. But the heat risk certainly is going to stay elevated throughout the day tomorrow, as we talked about. But as we get into the weekend time frame, it does look like those heat risk levels will back off some. Still highs around 90 degrees. Always have to certainly pay close attention to what your body's telling you when you're out there working in some of this extremely hot weather. But we've been seeing a lot of record heat all across the country. We've had the extreme heat warnings along the East Coast. Cities like Baltimore, Philadelphia setting records. I want to go to meteorologist Lauren Linehan. Lauren, in a lot of these cities, one of the contributing factors is a term, I mentioned this the other night here in Birmingham because we could see that the temperature was a little bit higher. The urban heat island effect can really impact those temperatures this time of year.
It really can, Wes. So we want to break down what exactly that looks like. Let's say you live in Birmingham versus maybe somewhere like our friends in High Togie over in West Alabama. There can be a big difference in the heat. So let's check it out. Let's say we're at a situation where the daytime temperature is maybe in the 80s, right? Well, when you factor in heating in a city versus in a more rural area, let's say the high temperature is forecast to be 85 degrees that day. And we think about this too as meteorologists. We have to factor in that in cities, sometimes it can be a good 5 degrees warmer in downtown Birmingham than it would be in one of our more rural areas. And you can see how when you go to different types of living areas, whether you're in a suburban area that maybe has more foliage, if you're somewhere that's a more commercial area, if you're in an urban residential spot, if you're in a park, the temperatures can go down a little bit, or if you're surrounded by farmland, you can see there's a huge difference, because one of the reasons is when you're in a city, you've got heat being emitted from cars, from buildings. Those buildings just kind of help to insulate things. So think about if you have somewhere that has more green space, you're just not able to cool off as much. So less trees, less cooling. And also when you have asphalt and concrete, that's just not going to do a very good job of helping to cool you off. That just absorbs heat. So sometimes temperatures can be warmer in cities just because of how many buildings there are around. You've got the heat absorbing materials in the infrastructure like roads. Of course, we all use our cars here. We don't have a ton of public transportation, so with more people on the roads, that can certainly cause more things like pollution, which can help to heat the atmosphere. And then when you're in a more rural area, let's say you're closer to a body of water or around more trees like parks, that can certainly help to cool things off. So one thing we really have to be careful of during the summer months, and we do start school back in August, the hottest month of the year, we have to think about students and how that is reflected in that urban heat island. For example, in Birmingham, we have about 78% of the students in Birmingham under extreme urban heat. They are in extreme urban heat areas. So if you look at that number, that's about 16,000 students that would feel 8 degrees hotter versus if you were somewhere away from downtown Birmingham, away from the city, you aren't going to feel as hot. So we always want to do what we can to keep cool during the summer months. Well, as these first alert weather days continue for dangerous heat, we're leaning on first responders to learn how to prepare if we have to be outside in it. Your reporter in Tuscaloosa, Brian Henry, joins us from Northstar Ambulance.
Veteran paramedic Grant Madison checked out the medications during a quiet time in Northstar to make sure he has all he needs to administer whatever drug is necessary at the moment.
Cardiac, anything to fix your sugar, anything to fluid replacement.
And right in the middle of the box is a thermometer. Anything above 90 degrees is a warning. You don't want a situation where the medications become ineffective.
If it gets above 90 degrees is when it's too hot. The medications become too hot. So therefore we have to get it out of the environment in a cooler place to cool the medications off.
So far so good. The ambulance is well equipped to keep the interior cool. Meantime, Madison and fellow Northstar paramedics have been busy with heat-related calls. They have definitely noticed the call volume going up starting a few days ago. The typical scenario?
Somebody that could be, on a construction site, cutting grass, out doing yard work, or something of that nature. Just something.
Clear indicators of heat exhaustion. With 8 years in the business, Grant Madison has an idea of what's going on.
I think a lot of people don't understand how hot it is. They're not preparing as far as hydrating. The heat is awful here.
Madison himself says he drinks about a gallon of water every single day. He's not suggesting everyone drink that much, but at least
recommended 2 to 3 quarts a day.
Hydrated, stocked, and ready to answer that next call. If recent history is any guide, it will likely be heat-related. Another person to rescue.
And so we've been tracking not just the record-breaking heat across parts of the eastern U.S., but we really want to zoom in. We've had heat advisories here in central Alabama, but where you see the pink showing up on the map here across parts of the mid-Atlantic and to the northeast, that's where extreme heat warnings have been in effect today. And these will actually be in effect until 7 o'clock Central Time tonight. So got about 30 more minutes, but I mean, it has been excruciatingly hot. Us here in Alabama, hate to say it, we can get kind of used to the heat around here, but areas like this in the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast, even though it can get hot in the summers, this has just been, like we've been saying, a record-breaking heat. And here's why. We've had this ridge of high pressure in place, this bubble of heat that has just been sitting over the eastern U.S. And so that flow around the high pressure and that sinking air associated with it has really been allowing the atmosphere to warm a lot more quickly than it would otherwise if you had another atmospheric setup. So that has been contributing to this area you see in purple for that potential for record high temperatures over the past couple days. In fact, I just want to give you a little view of some of those record high temperatures. And we're talking some of these temperatures are the hottest on record these cities have ever seen for June. So this is actually the record highs for yesterday because they were so prolific. Even today, still breaking some records, but in Boston hit 102 degrees. And I want to stress, we've been talking about the triple-digit heat here in central Alabama, but that's because we're talking about the feels like temperatures when you're factoring in the humidity. This didn't have anything to do with the humidity. That's just the plain old mercury, and the thermometer went up and hit the 100s. And also in New York City, a high of 102 degrees yesterday, as well as Newark, New Jersey, 103 degrees. So check it out. We're not the only ones that need a little relief from the heat as a heat wave spreads as well across Europe this week. Elephants in Hungary are getting a little help keeping cool. Since the zoo's opening in 1866, animal enclosures have been designed to help animals cope with heat. The zookeepers say they provide space to choose between sunny or shaded areas and potentially a pool. Shoot, those elephants are living pretty well. Well, in 30 seconds, we continue to talk about that first alert weather day with more heat in the forecast for Thursday and take you across the country to places beginning to clean up after being impacted by devastating storms. We'll be right back.
All right, time for weather every 6 minutes. And TJ Milam, one of my Facebook followers, shared this view. This was down in Panama City earlier. And you could see it looked like cushions for outdoor furniture just flying along the beach, and the winds really picking up. There were some severe storms there, moved in down along coastal areas this afternoon. I know we were talking a lot about the tropical system way out in the Atlantic. You can see some chairs there in the pool at this resort. There's going to be a lot of strong afternoon storms like this coming up, not only along the coast, but around our area as well. But folks there, certainly I didn't see anyone on the beach, but it looks like everybody got the first alert and got off the beach there before the lightning moved in. But just checking out some views here, I'll take you quickly here. We'll check out Gulf Shores. You can see that it looks like there might be a storm nearby. Some high level clouds moving in, 82 degrees. The storms are mostly inland, as you can see. Yeah, there's one there around Fairhope and the severe storm, but all these storms inland there along the panhandle of Florida are severe. But the heat index around here is still dangerously hot across our area. At the moment, we are tracking a storm that has popped up. Just heard a rumble of thunder here on Red Mountain, but around the Birmingham area. Storm that's over Lakeshore Parkway over towards the Wildwood area. This is going to be tracking back in towards Shannon. So giving you the first alert around Oxmoor Road and Oxmoor Lakeshore Parkway for the possibility of some lightning. Stay indoors. We'll continue to track this and those rain chances coming up. Lauren?
Hey, yeah, when thunder roars, go indoors. Don't mess around with the lightning. In fact, in South Carolina, 20 people, including 12 children, were injured on Tuesday after a lightning strike happened on the lake. It actually was near Dominion Beach Park by the Lake Murray Dam. The National Weather Service confirming a report of lightning in the area at 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time. Thankfully, none of the injuries were life-threatening. And in North Dakota, recovery efforts are underway after a deadly tornado struck the city of Enderlin. Dozens of volunteers turned out on Tuesday to help clean up farm fields damaged by the twister over the weekend. An EF3 tornado swept the small town, destroying homes, farm buildings, and power lines. 3 people were killed in the late night chaos. Fields are left covered in debris. Days after the storm, a cornerstone of the town, the farming community, is now looking to bounce back.
Maybe it's not their homes, but it's their fields because it is their livelihood. So we just want to help and make sure everyone can be stable and just have help after these disasters.
And the city is seeing an opportunity to start fresh, and farmers are also helping each other out. Well, we'll have more First Alert Weather Extra as we track the heat and the storms and take a look beyond the 7-day after the break.
Hey, welcome back into Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes White. Lauren and I were just talking about there's a pop-up storm not far from Lakeshore Parkway, and this is a live look from Baptist Health Brookwood, and you could just look with that rain not too far away from Shades Mountain. You can just tell how steamy and hazy it is. I know sometimes on days like this we're like a little bit of rain to help us out with the temperatures, right? But sometimes it just turns into a sauna after some of these little pop-up showers and storms. So far, the wet weather's been very, very isolated, but we're just right on the cusp of this heat wave breaking down some for our area. And you'll notice off to the side of the screen back in towards Atlanta, there are severe thunderstorm watches you get into parts of the Carolinas. And, you know, a lot of times we're focused on what's moving from the west direction, right? Well, a lot of our weather right now is moving from the east direction. So we got to keep an eye on what happens back to the east tonight. But there are, just because it's so hot right over the city of Birmingham and the Birmingham area, we're seeing some of these puffy cumulus clouds growing into storms storms. There's one that went right up over the Lakeshore Parkway area, but there's some lightning here. So if you receive a lightning alert, it is a real lightning alert. You need to be indoors because we do have some storms. This is tracking back towards Shades Crest Road, and another cell that's intensifying not far from the Hoover Met. This is out towards the Brock's Gap area and Morgan Road. This is going to be tracking close to Helena, so a first alert if that does hold together. Looking at the heat index map at the moment, we still have a lot of 100 plus heat index levels. It is extremely hot. Still want to wait a while. I know that said the next 6 hours, but this is the next 24 hours. We're going to take you through tonight. Eventually, we're going to see some more storms develop to the east, and in this flow, some of those will start to work their way across the state and could grow severe with some intense lightning. That should help to knock down the heat level some, but if these storms hold off even longer, that's going to allow more time for those triple-digit heat index levels to return tomorrow. So that's why we held on to that first alert weather day for the heat, but also tomorrow, if we don't see a lot of storms tonight, even greater chance those will pop up tomorrow into the afternoon, and some of those could be severe. So it's storms, it's heat we got to watch out for the next few days, but the temperatures closer to where they should be. Daytime heat close to 90 degrees, still hot, still steamy, but at least not feeling like 110 degrees out there. But again, plan for this classic summer mode to continue. It actually looks like it may hold on through the 4th of July, but to take us beyond the 7-day, Lauren's got the update.
Hey Wes, well, it still looks like we could be seeing above average heat. Maybe not quite as sultry as it's been the past several days, but still showcasing, okay, this time of the year as we wrap up June and head into July, our average high is around 90 degrees. So we could at least be a little bit warmer than that. This is looking at the temperature outlook from July 3rd through July 9th and is showcasing above average temperatures for us here in central Alabama. And this has kind of been a trend, it feels like, for ages on end. Also looking at the possibility of above average precipitation chances as we head into early July. So let's take a little sneak peek of the forecast. And of course, we want to keep a close eye on the potential for any type of tropical development in the Gulf, Caribbean, or the Atlantic. So this is next Thursday, July 3rd, showing the possibility of maybe some unsettled weather trying to develop in the Gulf. And for us, seeing that still a decent possibility of some scattered showers and storms. So I wouldn't be surprised if on the 4th of July, we do have to track some storms, so just giving you a first alert that towards the end of next week it could be stormy. Still watching this potential for maybe some tropical moisture to move through the Gulf. Whether that will be organized or not, that remains to be seen. But looking at that first weekend of July, the possibility of maybe a few storms around, more so isolated coverage. And then as we get into that first full week of July, still the possibility of some scattered storms in the forecast, which we expect storms in the summertime here in Alabama. Maybe just not the crazy coverage we've been seeing lately. Well, we'll be right back with a final check on your forecasts after the break.
Did you know that you can become a part of Weather Extra? You can send your viewer photos in to us and we would be honored to share them. So I'm going to share a couple with you tonight, looking back over the past week. This one coming in from Naisha from Munford. We'd love to see your sunrise and sunset photos. This one from Scott Smith. How about playing a quick 18 on Bent Brook Golf Course. Looking pretty good as the sun sets there. And then also from York Mountain, Janice, thank you so much for sending that in to us as well. You can tell that my favorite are the sunsets and the sunrises. This one, the sunset from Lake Mitchell from Kaylee. We love to see your photos. And last but not least, from Houston, Casey Moon. Love to see that photo. Again, if you want to become a part of Weather Extra, which you can, all you got to do is download the First Alert Weather app. So take your phone out, aim it at the screen, this QR code will take you to our weather app where one, you can get all the latest information, but two, you can also submit your weather photos that we would be happy to share right here on Weather Extra.
All right, a big first alert, some pop-up storms in the Birmingham area right now.
Yeah, we heard the thunder. It's funny though, Wes, if you walk out the back door, the sun is blazing. So very isolated coverage.
That's what really is tricky about this time of the year. You look up, the sun's shining, you hear the thunder, you receive a lightning alert. It is the real deal. There are some pop-up storms. This one, Lauren, looks like the some of the heaviest rains out around Lakeshore Parkway between Bessemer and over towards Bluff Park. If you're around Ross Bridge, those areas. Also down towards Hoover, some storm development, and this will drift down into Shelby County there. So again, watch out for isolated storms this evening.
And Wes, isn't it cute how it always pops up when we're driving out on our dinner break?
Never fails.
Every time.
Hey, but we'll be watching it for you. See you tonight at 9.